Philippines and good day world. It's 5-day, October 13, 2023, and you are watching Newsline World. I'm Frederico Velloso.
And I'm Mayk Oliveira. We are here to bring you the top stories we've gathered from all over the globe.
Pastor Quiboloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ strongly condemns the Hamas terror attacks on civilians in Israel.
Ex-Hamas chief calls for a global jihad or day of rage. Meanwhile, the Israeli government is urging its nationals abroad to remain vigilant amid reports of knife attacks in two countries.
Israel warns Gaza's 1.1 million residents to leave their place within 24 hours amid a possible ground offensive by the IDF.
The countdown begins as Australians are set to vote on the historic indigenous voice.
Brazil's President Lula da Silva appeals for a humanitarian corridor for a safe passage for Latin Americans.
This and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World.
Pastor Quiboloy strongly condemns the terrorist attacks conducted by Hamas on innocent civilians in Israel. The good pastor is profoundly saddened by the sight of children suffering and experiencing violence due to the ongoing conflict. Hannah Jane Sancho reports.
Pastor Quiboloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ strongly condemns the terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas on innocent civilians in Israel.
I strongly condemn the terrorist attack against innocent civilians, families, children. That's unforgivable. That's bestial, that's demonic, that's diabolic.
Pastor Apollo couldn't hold back his tears upon seeing videos online, especially those showing children suffering due to the ongoing conflict.
I was seeing the videos. I cannot help but cry my heart out.
Sir, are we going to
Even until now, I am very broken-hearted for the kids that were brutalized. Of course, in the war, there are some like casualties, collateral damage. There are children. That is, of course, what happened. But when you are attacked intentionally, off guard, and then you do that to families, kids, women being raped, and children being brutalized, killed mercilessly, I cannot describe how I felt as a human being. As a human being, I just cried. Because I love children.
According to Pastor Apollo, he can't fathom how one human being can inflict such violence on another, particularly on women and children.
I cannot imagine that human beings can do that to women, to children, to old people. It's just terrible. Until now, I am suffering. I am like traumatized.
As an advocate for peace, Pastor Apollo finds it's unacceptable for religions to promote hatred in the hearts of individuals, especially children. Pastor Apollo said that these teachings do not come from God, but from the evil spirits of hell.
When you teach people to hate while they are kids, this religion of hate should not be tolerated. Even though how much different we are from others. But when you teach kids until they grow up to hate and to kill your enemies, that doctrine doesn't come from God. It comes from the demonic spirits of hell. So Whoever you are, whatever your belief is, I don't care about you and your belief when you have doctrines like that. You are not humans. You are demons.
To recall, Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip, launched a surprise attack on Israel last Saturday. In response, the Israeli military conducted airstrikes, targeting Hamas sites and headquarters in Gaza. The recent outbreak of violence has resulted in a significant number of casualties on both sides, including civilians. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Time is ticking for the Palestinian residents of Gaza after Israel orders them to relocate south, and the UN warns of devastating humanitarian consequences amid escalating tensions and hostilities. The Israeli military has issued an evacuation order to over 1 million residents of Gaza City, urging them to move south for their safety. The United Nations has warned of devastating humanitarian consequences as a result of this displacement. The Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, stated that the evacuation was their so-called humanitarian step and that Gaza residents could only return after receiving a notification confirming their safety. The IDF has also called on civilians to distance themselves from Hamas. The UN has expressed concerns about the impact of such massive displacement, affecting around 1.1 million people, and called for their order to be rescinded. The Gaza Strip continues to be pounded by Israeli airstrikes after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared war following the unprecedented attack of Hamas last Saturday. The IDF stated that they will significantly operate in Gaza City and that civilians will be able to return back to their homes only after another announcement is made. This raises fears that Israel will launch a ground attack on the city. But Hamas rejected Israel's order, stating, quote, "Our Palestinian people reject the threat of the occupation leaders and its call for them to leave their homes and flee them from the south or to Egypt. We are steadfast on our land and in our homes and our cities. There will be no displacement." End of quote.
America's aircraft carrier has arrived in Busan port following the trilateral exercise between Japan, the U.S., and South Korea. Ria Saito has the details.
USS carrier Ronald Reagan, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, arrived at Busan port amid escalating tensions in the Korean peninsula. The arrival of the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier and its battle group came after participating in a South Korea-US-Japan maritime exercises in international waters off a South Korean island earlier this week. USS Ronald Reagan will remain in Busan until next Monday as part of a South Korea-US agreement to enhance regular visibility of Washington's strategic assets to the Korean peninsula in response to the advancing nuclear program of North Korea. The said aircraft carrier last visited the country in September 2022. Meanwhile, Pyongyang condemned the said visit, calling it a provocation in the region. North Korea also called the trilateral exercises a preparation for an invasion against Pyongyang. The U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Nimitz also visited the Busan port last March. 以上、日本からサイトリアニュースをお伝えしました。SMNI News, Japan.
Millions of Australians are set to vote in a historic referendum that could alter a 122-year-old constitution and give the indigenous Australians a chance for their voice to be heard in the parliament for the first time. Jillian Libuit reports.
On Saturday, the 14th of October, millions of Australians will visit more than 7,000 voting centres across the country to cast their ballots between 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Of Australia's 26 million population, 17.6 million are eligible to vote. More than 4 million people have already cast their ballots after early voting started on October 2nd. Australian voters will be asked to write yes or no on whether they support the constitutional amendment that aims to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Indigenous voice to Parliament. A yes vote will ensure the creation of a body that will allow representatives of First Nations communities to provide independent advice to lawmakers on issues that affect them.
This is a once-in-a-generation chance for us to recognise the first Australians in our nation's constitution, and to do so in a form in which we've been requested by them. I sincerely hope that Australians take this opportunity to vote yes.
Indigenous Australians account for only 3.8% of Australia's population, with more than 980,000 of them living in the country. They have a life expectancy that is about 8 years less than non-Indigenous people, suffer from higher rates of suicide and imprisonment, and have less access to healthcare services. Results of the referendum may not be delivered on the same day, with the Australian Electoral Commission required to legally wait for 13 days after voting day for any ballot papers struck in transit. It is one of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's major policy pledges during his successful election campaign last year. The Albanese government sees the referendum as a victory for racism. However, there are indications that most Australians will reject the proposal based on the outcome of 2 opinion polls released earlier this week. If successful, the referendum has the potential to amend Australia's founding legal documents for the first time since 1977. Reporting from New South Wales, this has been Gillian Libowit, SMNI News, Australia.
Meanwhile, death tolls soared in the fighting between Israel and Hamas on Thursday, with more than 2,800 lives claimed on both sides as the elevated conflict entered its 6th day. More than 1,572 Palestinians have been killed in the fighting, with over 7,200 wounded, the Palestinian Health Authority said on Thursday. The tally includes 1,537 deaths and about 6,600 injuries in the enclosed territory of Gaza. Meanwhile, on the Israeli side, the health ministry said that the death toll increased to 1,300, with around 3,300 wounded. The ongoing conflict escalated drastically on Saturday after Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip, fired thousands of rockets into Israel in a massive surprise attack via land, sea, and air. Israel has responded with numerous airstrikes and retaliatory measures and is now threatening to launch a ground offensive in Gaza.
Just hours ago, the Brazilian Air Force, or FAB, brought home another 69 nationals from Israel. This is the 3rd FAB plane bringing repatriated nationals that were in the midst of the Israel-Hamas conflict. David Lida reports live. David?
Mayk, the Brazilian government is working on the repatriation of its national stock in the Israel-Hamas conflict. This is the 3rd plane bringing Brazilian nationals from the war zone region.
Just some hours ago, the 3rd FAB plane arrived on the airport of the city of Recife in the state of Pernambuco with 69 nationals on board. Brazil's Minister of Defense, José Múcio, said on Wednesday that the Brazilian government will repatriate every Brazilian in Israel that wants to leave the now war zone region. The Brazilian government, under the administration of Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, has already repatriated 494 nationals since Wednesday, October 11, when the first FAB plane landed in Brasilia, the national capital of Brazil, bringing 211 Brazilians. The second plane came just 1 day later, bringing another 214 Brazilians. The Itamaraty, or Brazil's Foreign Affairs Ministry, said around 2,700 Brazilians have requested to go back to Brazil. Múcio also reassured the people that the government is committed to bring all the Brazilian nationals that are in the region, and that they have put up 2 officers specialized in handling crises to bring all of them back home, 1 in Brazil and 1 in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Mayk, Itamaraty is contacting neighboring nationals to help with the repatriation of its nationals, and by Sunday, Brazil is expecting that 905 more Brazilians will be repatriated. The government has so far repatriated 494 people. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you. That's David Lira, live in the SMNI studios.
Meanwhile, the White House said the support for Ukraine is not indefinite. This is after Kyiv has been granted a whopping $1.15 billion grant from the Peace Initiative. Andrea Santos reports.
The United States is running out of money for Ukraine unless Congress approves more funding.
But in the near term, we've got appropriations and authorities for both Ukraine and for Israel. But you don't want to be trying to bake in long-term support when you're at the end of the rope. And in Ukraine, on the Ukraine funding, we're coming near to the end of the rope. I mean, today we announced $200 million, and we'll keep that aid going as long as we can, but it's not going to be indefinite.
Asked to define what he meant about near term, Kirby said,
I can't give you a date certain on the calendar because a lot of it's going to depend on their expenditure rate and what the replenishment ability is, or what the need is, and what our ability to do it is.
Well, Pentagon's spokesperson on Tuesday assured that the United States has the ability to continue its support for both Ukraine and Israel. Kirby said that the money previously appropriated for Ukraine by the United States Congress is not going to last forever, and that American lawmakers need to approve more and soon. Meanwhile, Ukraine has been granted $1.15 million from the United States under the so-called Peace Initiative. The Finance Ministry of Ukraine has officially confirmed the said grant. The Peace Initiative, which stands for Public Expenditures of Administrative Capacity Endurance in Ukraine project, is a flagship initiative of the World Bank. This initiative has been aiding Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, the President of the United Arab Emirates announced $20 million in humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people. RJ Perez reports.
The UAE President, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, will be sending millions of dollars worth of humanitarian aid to Palestine through the UN Relief and Work Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East. Nearly 74,000 displaced persons are now housed in 64 shelters managed by the UN agency in Gaza. Their number is expected to rise as heavy shelling and airstrikes continue. The UAE also warned the Syrian regime against any interference between Israel forces and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, with both countries just resuming bilateral ties last year. Additionally, Israel's ambassador to the UAE on Tuesday suggested that the military conflict will unlikely strain ties between the Jewish state and the Gulf nation. The Israel warned that nothing will stop its forces from crushing Hamas after it's placed Gaza, home to some 2.3 million Palestinians under the total siege, and pounded and unclaimed with airstrikes in the past few days. Meanwhile, the UAE's Trade Minister Thani Al-Zayudi assured that the war will not affect the Gulf nation economic agreement with Israel, emphasizing that the country does not mix trade with politics. A comprehensive economic partnership agreement signed by the two countries took effect in March of this year. The agreement marked Israel's first free trade agreement with an Arab state. The UAE also became the first Gulf countries to normalize relations with Israel in 2020. The multi-million-dollar aid is part of the UAE's policy to provide urgent relief and assistance to vulnerable populations worldwide in times of crisis. Reporting, this has been RJ Perez, SMNI News.
Global tech powerhouses, experts, and thought leaders convene in Dubai for a two-day assembly that focus on the transformative potential of generative artificial intelligence. Gratiru Omori has the details.
The Dubai Assembly for Generative AI brought together 2,200 attendees in addition to global tech powerhouses and consultancies worldwide. The event reflects Dubai's commitment to reinforce its stature as a global hub for technology innovation. His Excellency Khalfal Belhoul, the CEO of Dubai Future Foundation, said that the emerging technology has reported a business opportunity of as much as $4.4 trillion, adding that generative AI will have a great impact in regenerating the world's ecosystem if deployed in the right way.
Artificial intelligence will compete with the smartest people around the world by 2040. 2050, human brains or computerized brains could potentially live forever as brains, downloading all those data. So understanding the way people think can literally last forever. We believe Gen AI will have a great impact in regenerating our ecosystem, whether it comes to climate change and decision making around the world. If deployed in the right way, it will surely have a big say in regenerating our ecosystems.
The two-day assembly was held on October 11 and 12 at the Museum of the Future, one of the most famous landmarks in Dubai. Among the global powerhouses and consultancies present at the event include Microsoft, Meta, IBM, Nokia, and McKinsey, among others. The term generative AI is causing a buzz and currently enjoyed increasing popularity in recent years, as it is capable of producing various kinds of data, including audio, code, images, text, simulations, 3D objects, and videos. The advent of generative AI has been made popular by Microsoft-backed OpenAI's ChatGPT. The sector is expected to expand from $10 billion in 2022 to $110.8 billion by 2030 and is predicted to add trillions of dollars in value to the global economy in the coming decades. His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Crown Prince of Dubai, hailed artificial intelligence as a new era in human history, with Dubai seeking to be at the forefront of this transformation. The assembly took place a few months after the Crown Prince launched the Dubai Center for Artificial Intelligence, a facility that aims to train 1,000 government employees from more than 30 government entities on the uses of generative AI. Reporting from Dubai, this has been Gratero Omori, SMNA News, United Arab Emirates.
A former Hamas chief is calling for a global jihad on Friday the 13th. This is also dubbed as the Global Day of Rage. This prompted the Israeli government to urge their citizens overseas to be vigilant amid reports of stabbing innocents in two countries. Jane Domingo reports.
This is a shocking video of an Israeli embassy staffer who was stabbed to death by an unknown suspect. The incident was already confirmed by the Israeli Foreign Ministry, but China has yet to release a statement. While the motive behind the attack remains unclear, it occurred following Israel's criticism of China's statement regarding the unprecedented attack of Hamas into Israel. The Israeli Foreign Ministry said that the assault did not happen within the premises of the embassy, and the identity of the staffer, who is currently in hospital, was not disclosed. No one has claimed responsibility for this attack, and Israeli officials are still investigating the incident. Meanwhile, in France, a man stabbed to death one teacher and wounded two others in an attack at a school in Aris City on Friday. The suspect was a 19-year-old Russian-born Chechen refugee named Mohamed Bogushko, who shouted Allahu Akbar before stabbing the teacher to death. The incident also happened amid ex-Hamas chief Khaled Mishal, who called for Muslim nations to observe global jihad, or Day of Rage, for mass protests after prayers to denounce the intensive airstrikes and blockade of Israeli forces in Gaza. Khaled Mishal served as the chief of Hamas from 2004 to 2017. He is currently based in Qatar, serving as the head of Hamas diaspora office. In a recorded statement to Reuters, Mishal said, and quote, "We must head to the squares and streets of the Arab and Islamic world on Friday. To all scholars who teach jihad, to all who teach and learn, this is a moment for the application." End of quote. Mishal also called on the governments and people of Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan to join the fight against Israel, noting that Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria have the highest Palestinian population outside of Gaza Strip. Mishal's calls prompted the Israeli Foreign Ministry and the National Security Council to urge their nationals abroad to take extra care on Friday. They were advised to show alertness, stay away from protests and demonstrations, and if possible, get updates from local security forces about possible protests and incidents of unrest around them. Meanwhile, U.S. Homeland Security officials said they have yet to see any indication that calls of a Day of Rage will spark violence across the United States, although they raise concerns over images and propaganda that could quickly change the landscape of the threat. Despite the lack of confirmation, various law enforcement agencies like the Los Angeles Police Department is stepping up its patrols, as well as authorities of Washington, D.C., New York City, among others. Reporting, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
Palestinians fear the continuous siege against Gaza would worsen the humanitarian crisis in the enclave, with its medical system on the brink of collapse. Alisa Tojes tells us more.
The unrelenting air raids and Israel's decision to cut off water, electricity, and fuel supply to Gaza are pushing its local medical system to the brink of collapse, creating a dire humanitarian crisis there. According to the World Health Organization, or WHO, since the latest conflict, there have been 34 attacks on health facilities in Gaza, killing 11 medical personnel, injuring 16 others. It also destroyed 9 medical facilities and 20 ambulances, which further strains the already overstretched medical system in Gaza.
هذه الأعداد الكبيرة باتت لا تستطيع مستشفيات قطاع غزة تحملها. مستشفيات قطاع غزة الآن نفذت قدرتها السريرية على استيعاب جرحى من هذا العدوان.
At the same time, Israel said that unless Hamas releases the detained Israeli personnel, Israel will never resume water and power supply to Gaza or lift the siege on it. The power plant in Gaza used up fuel reserves on Thursday, so Gaza's medical institutions can only rely on their own generators to maintain the most critical medical services. But the fuel reserves will also run out soon. Gaza's medical resources, including medicine and equipment, are almost exhausted.
وغيره من المستشفيات يهدد أيضا بانقطاع العمليات الجراحية بالإضافة لمضخات الأكسجين. هذا يؤثر سلبا على العديد من المرضى المبيتين داخل المستشفيات.
The WHO issued a statement on Thursday, warning that due to the blockade, it is unable to provide fuel, medical, and humanitarian supplies to the Gaza Strip, and calling for an end to attacks on civilians and medical institutions, and the immediate establishment of humanitarian corridors. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Ishtayeh on the same day called on the international community to immediately intervene, stop the Israeli military operation in the Gaza Strip, restore water and power supply to Gaza as soon as possible, and provide fuel, food, medicine, and other medical and humanitarian aid to Gaza as soon as possible, so as to mitigate the imminent humanitarian disaster in the area. Reporting, this has been Alisa Torres, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, the president of Brazil is asking his Israeli counterpart to provide a humanitarian corridor that will give way to Brazil's mission to evacuate its people from Israel. Natalia Prado will tell us more live. Natalia?
Mayk, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva thanked his Israeli counterpart Isaac Herzog for the assistance provided to Brazil's mission to evacuate its people. Lula had a phone conversation with Herzog and said that he thanked his counterpart for supporting the operation to bring home Brazilians who want to return to the country. He also reaffirmed Brazil's condemnation of terrorist attacks and its solidarity with the families of the victims. Lula also asked the president to stop the shortage of water, electricity, and medicine in the hospitals. He also appealed for a humanitarian corridor to allow people to leave the Gaza Strip. Mayk, to recall, Lula urged an end to what he described as the insanity of war and not be victims of those who want to wage war. Lula also condemned what he calls terrorist attack done by the Hamas group. Back to you, Mayk.
Thank you very much. That's Natalia Prado live on SMNI Studios.
Meanwhile, the United States and Qatar agreed to block Iran from accessing $6 billion funds that the Biden administration unfroze last month as part of a high-stakes prisoner exchange between Washington and Tehran. Melchizedek Cadiz reports.
The Biden administration reportedly agreed to block Iran from accessing billions of dollars in oil revenues previously blocked under U.S. sanctions amid pressure from both Republican and Democrat lawmakers, as reported by Western sources. In a meeting with House Democrats on Thursday, Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Adeyemo told the lawmakers that the United States reached a quiet understanding with Qatar to implement at least a temporary restriction on the use of the funds. On the same day, Texas Congressman August Fugger filed a bill that seeks to block Iran from accessing the money, a move supported by more than 100 Republicans. To note, the Biden administration unfroze the $6 billion worth of Iranian oil funds on September 11, 2023, as part of a high-stakes prisoner swap deal. The deal also involved the release of 5 American and Iranian prisoners from both sides. The release of the funds earned criticisms from Republican contenders who linked the funds to the surprise attack launched by Hamas on Saturday. Former U.S. President Donald Trump accused the Biden administration of betraying Israel, while Republican South California Senator Tim Scott said that the $6 billion were not just an invitation, but the U.S. actually paid for the aggression to happen. In response, Washington said that the sum was never a part of U.S. taxpayer money and claimed that the $6 billion fund was still untouched by Iran. The U.S. previously said Iran can only use the funds for humanitarian purposes and warned it has the authority to refreeze it, but Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi said that the government has the authority to decide how it will use the money. Meanwhile, a House aide revealed that Congress has not yet received an official notification from the State Department or the Biden administration on refreezing the funding. It is not yet clear as to how long the U.S. and Qatar agreed to block Iran's access to the money. Reporting, this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
The government, in collaboration with the private sector, has introduced a new line of instant dishes aiming to reduce Filipinos' reliance on canned goods and noodles. Jay Mudahar tells us more.
Say goodbye to canned goods and noodles, my fellow Filipinos, because a new instant meal option is now available for the masses. Called Instant Pakbet and Chop Suey, brought to you by Farm Fresh Products in partnership with the government and various farm organizations in the Philippines. In cooperation with the Department of Agriculture, this private and public partnership seeks to provide affordable and nutritious instant food for the Filipino people. But what is the price per pack for these instant chop suey and pakbit dishes?
A family of 5, hindi tayo lalampas ng 100 pesos. A family of 5. Sapagkat during yung over ang supply natin, because may kumpleto tayo ng facilities, cold storage facilities, pwede na nating i-process itong produkto. Lalong-lalo na pag over supply, mura yan. Kaya kung mura nating makukuha yan, mura natin ding ibebenta.
Process pa ng review kung magkano magiging presyo, pero relatively cheaper siya. Kasi yung usapan namin dito, kailangan hindi at least at par or lower dun sa presyo.
In addition to consumers, this new product is a significant help to farmers. Their produce can be purchased directly without intermediaries. This ensures that vegetables from regions like Bataan and Benguet and other provinces don't go to waste.
At least nakita na rin natin kanina na walang masasayang. Doon sa amin, pag mag-produce yung mga farmers natin, very abundant yung mga harvest nila.
Siyempre, mape-preserve yung mga ani ng ating mga magsasaka na minsan pagka sobrang dami ani nila nasisira lang. With this program, mape-preserve at dadagdag yung kita nila kasi halos mawawala na yung mga traders.
The vegetables in instant chop suey and pakbet are half-cooked but vacuum-sealed for extended shelf life. The Department of Agriculture and Farm Fresh Products aims to replace instant meals with canned goods typically distributed during calamities.
Kasi puro puro preservative. Ito, makakatulong na sa Filipino farmers, very nutrients pa. Yung nutrients niya sobrang pampalakas natin talaga sa bawat katawan natin.
The program will be launched next year or the first quarter of 2024 as the movers of the said program will check the dynamics of the business side of the program here in Metro Manila. For Ganamabul of Philippines, I'm Jay Mondihar, SMNI News.
The town of Lutayan, Sultan Kudarat recently hosted a 3-day celebration of the 23rd Kunduli Festival. The event brought together former and current officials of the province in a show of unity. Here are the details from Jean Domingo.
Happy 56th Foundation Anniversary and 23rd Kanduli Festival with our team Pagsulong, ng sports tungo sa nagkakaisang pamayanan at maunlad na bayan.
Just recently, a significant event took place from October 10 to October 12 and was highlighted by the culmination of the 23rd Kanduli Festival. The celebration was made even more special as it recognized the founding anniversary of Lutayan and saw the attendance of all officials of Sultan Kudarat. Testa Secretary Suharto Pax Teng Magundadatu, Governor Dato Pax Ali Magundadatu, Vice Governor Raden Sakaluran, Mayor Dato Pax Magundadatu, Vice Mayor Prince Raden Sakaluran, and 1st District Congresswoman Rian Sakaluran Abdurajak were among those present. During their speech, the key officials looked back in the early days of their service in Lutayan in Sultan Kudarat.
Welcome ngayong araw sa ating pag-celebrate ng 23rd Kanduli Festival.
Sa inyong presensya po ay nagbigay kulay sa aming buhay sa araw na ito. Hindi lang po sa Kalimutan Festival, but also sa pamilya po namin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening to everyone. I am truly happy and honored na makapag-celebrate ng Kanduli Festival at ng aking kaarawan kasama ang aking pamilya dito sa tahanan ng mga pinuno.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
In the event, the current DESA Secretary and the former Governor of Sultan Kudarat, Secretary Suharto Teng Magundadatu, expressed his belief that the event played a crucial role in strengthening unity in Lutayan.
Ako nandito po upang pasalamatan at balikan ang ating mga kababayan because I started my career way back 1998 as a mayor. Maraming salamat sa mga kababayan pa natin at patuloy po tayo magmahalan. Christians, Muslims, or IPs. Tayo po ay patuloy na magmahalan at magkaisa sapagkat kapayapahan ang solusyon para sa kaunlaran ng bawat bayan at sa buhay ng bawat isa sa atin. Happy Kalimutan and happy Kanduli Festival to the municipality of Lutayan.
While Governor Dato Pax Ali Magundadatu also expressed gratitude for the success and ongoing unity not only in Lutayan but throughout Sultan Kudarat.
Very important po yun because ang sabi nga ni Jose Rizal, kinakailangan po na magbalik tanaw tayo sa ating mga pinanggalingan. It is only through that way that we will progress and move forward. And once we celebrate and we become grateful, yan po ang napakaganda. Kasi sabi nga sa atin ng ating Creator, the more that a person is grateful, the more that our Creator gets. And that is what we do. We are grateful for what's happening. We're celebrating our unity and we celebrate the very essence of who we are as United Filipinos.
The celebration featured several highlights, including the Tawag na Tanghalan competition, where Lutayanos showcased their singing talents. The event was made even more significant as Governor Pax Magundadatu himself celebrated his birthday during the evening celebration with fellow countrymen in Lutayan. Also, Lutayanos expressed their gratitude to the Magundadatu family for their exceptional governance and compassion. The family's unwavering commitment to public welfare and community progress has earned them immense respect and admiration. Their leadership has brought about significant improvements in the lives of the people, and their gratefulness is a testament to the family's remarkable achievements and genuine dedication to the betterment not only of Lutayan, but the whole of Sultan Kudarat. Reporting, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, SMNI News Channel once again received recognition from Asia's Pinnacle Awards held at Okada, Manila this Friday night. Jason Rubico tells us more.
Due to fair journalism and factual reporting, SMNI News Channel received another recognition as Asia's Outstanding Media Production Company from the Asia's Pinnacle Awards. Several government officials, prominent individuals, and companies gathered in an awards night held at Okada, Manila this Friday night. They were recognized at the annual Asia's Pinnacle Awards for their outstanding contributions in various fields. One of the awardees was SMNI News Channel as Asia's Outstanding Media Production Company.
Ang SMNI po ay nabigyan ng pagkilala at parangal sa gabing ito sa kadahilanan na nakita naman po natin kung gaano po naging patas at naging makabuluhan ang pagbabalita po ng SMNI na kung saan nais po namin pong ipaabot ang aming mensahe rin ng pagsuporta sa kanila pong mithiin sa paglaban po sa insurgency.
OFW Portal List representative and OFW Ikaw ang Bida SMNI News anchor, Congresswoman Marisa Del Mar Magsino, was also awarded as Asia's most influential and passionate Congresswoman.
And most of all, I am offering it, of course, for every single OFWs all over the world, all over the whole continent and all over the country. Kasi po, One Filipinos Worldwide, that stands for the acronym of OFW. And this award will serve as my inspiration to do more for the service of our overseas Filipino workers. And this will keep me burning to be able to do more and be fierce, especially in our committee hearings, in our plenary session. For as long as I have to oppose, I will do that. For as long as I have to support, definitely, I will give my 100% support.
Other public servants also received awards, including Health Secretary and Doktor ng Bayan SMNI anchor Ted Herbosa, DILG Undersecretary Felicito Valmusina, and Manila Vice Mayor Yul Servo.
I'm honored na I've been awarded for my work in public health. Alam naman ng SMNI how I actually worked during COVID-19 to give the message, deliver the truth to our people watching on SMNI. Kay Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, thank you very much. I wouldn't get this award without your support to the show and to everything I do, especially for the people of the Philippines, para sa ating bayan.
Una, siyempre, nagpapasalamat tayo sa Asia's Pinnacle Awards sapagkat isa na naman itong patunay na kung ikaw ay naglilingkod ng tapat, kung ikaw ay gumagawa ng maganda para sa bayan, ay binibigyan ka ng maunor na ganito. So, sa mga nabigyan ng award na kasama ko, mas pag-ibayuhin pa natin ang paglilingkod, lalong-lalo na sa mga kababayan natin na mga mahihirap. Kailangan magkaisa tayo, magtulungan, sapagkat tayo ngayon yung mga leader na kailangang magkaisa.
Isang malaking karangalan to para sa akin bilang isang lingkod bayan na halos na nakapaglingkod na ng isa't kalahating dekada para sa mga batang Manileño. Itong karangalan na ito nais kong i-share sa aking mga kapwa batang Manileño at sa aking mga kapwa lingkod bayan sa panguna ni Mayor Hanny Lacuna Pangan at ng 12 City Council.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SM9 News.
The Prime Ministers of Thailand and Singapore pledged to strengthen partnerships in various sectors, particularly in the digital economy and renewable energy. Both leaders also hailed the historical friendship between their countries as it remains strong in the face of geopolitical tensions in the region. Chat Bonggon Pisamagazon has the details.
Thai Prime Minister Sethar Thavisin's recent trip to Singapore marked his second diplomatic visit abroad after Cambodia since he was elected as the new Prime Minister in August.
Thavisin visited Singapore on Thursday. At the invitation of Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong.
Nearly 350,000 Thais have visited Singapore so far this year, and Singaporeans also love visiting Thailand for the beautiful cities, the beaches, the vibrant culture, and especially the food. Our two countries also share strong diplomatic ties. We work closely in regional and international fora, especially in ASEAN, where we are both founding members.
In April 2021, Thailand's Prompt Pay and Singapore's Pay Now partnered under a cross-border fast payment system that enables users on both sides to transfer money using their mobile numbers. This form of payment system is said to be the first of its kind in the world. Singapore also welcomed Thailand's interest in joining the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement, which will enable further growth opportunities for Thai businesses. Both countries are part of the Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore Power Integration Project. The initiative allows Singapore to import renewable energy from Laos through Thailand and Malaysia since June 2022. The Singaporean Prime Minister said he is looking forward to strengthen energy collaboration with Thailand, which will unlock the potential for cross-border renewable energy trade in the ASEAN.
So overall, Singapore and Thailand enjoy a very substantive partnership, and I look forward to working closely with Prime Minister Setta and his government to enhance this even further.
Singapore is Thailand's second highest source of foreign direct investment in the first half of 2023. As one of the top 10 largest trading partners in Southeast Asia, bilateral trade between the two nations reached $42.1 billion last year. รายงานจากกรุงเทพมหานคร นายชันมงคลพิสมัยโกศล SMA News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
Meanwhile, Davao Occidental Representative Claude Bautista paid a courtesy visit to Pastor Apollo Quiboloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ in Davao City on Friday, where he expressed his support on the supposed confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education. Moreover, Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Silian, also visited Pastor Apollo earlier on Friday. Precious Alvarez reports.
Guwapo sa imo, grabe yung kabilib yung po sa imo, guwapo.
Despite his busy schedule, Pastor Apollo Quiboloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ welcomed Davao Occidental Representative Claude Bautista at the KJC headquarters in Davao City on Friday. The two leaders discussed matters concerning the lawmakers' district in Davao Occidental and other issues over a simple dinner. Representative Bautista also expressed his gratitude to Pastor Apollo for the friendship and the time he spent with him. He also expressed his admiration for the good pastor for the ongoing construction of his mega project, the KJC Kingdom, which is the biggest indoor cathedral in the world. Earlier this year, the two friends met at the ACQ Tower in Makati City.
I was very surprised sa paghatag sa ko kay gayon nga motuyok ko. First time na ako nakita nga naano daytay world class nga stadium diri sa atoa sa Davao City nga atog yung ipanghambog sa tibuok kalibutan o ang entrance nakita nako nga lupig pa ang Las Vegas ani sa kagwapo. I'm very proud sa binuhatan ni pastor nga di na ko ma-imagine nga kaya din niyang imaginon ang unimaginable. Congratulations to Pastor Quiboloy for the job well done and making Davao City to be proud of.
Well, old friends, they come to see me and we had a good chat about things, about our visit to them and their visit to us, and especially Congressman Claude Bautista is an old friend of the ministry. Siyempre, from Davao Occidental is the congressman there. I visited this place before. I think I will visit him again also. Well, anything naman in the kingdom is world class. Because we have the revolution of excellence here. We are also proud that this is a landmark of the Philippines and is found here in Davao, our hometown.
On the other hand, Representative Bautista also expressed the supposed confidential funds of the Office of Vice President Sara Duterte and the Department of Education to focus on the concerns of the students, teachers, and to combat insurgency. The lawmaker added that most of the recruitment of the communist groups begin in the classrooms, which is an important matter to be addressed to.
Kung kahibaluta nga ang gigikanan sa mga insurgency, gigikanan sa mga leftist nga mga is gagikan sa mga estudyante o sa mga nagtudlo nga mga maestra. Unsaon na to pag kahibalo kung naay mga kakulian na hitabo sa estudyante, naanay mga estudyante nga na-convert na og as young as 9 years old, 10 years old, recruited na sa mga NPAs. Unsaon na to na pagkahibalo kung walay magpakabana nga mahibalaan na siya.
Representative Bautista added that Vice President Sara Duterte is not also pushing hard to have the confidential funds and that there is no need to make it controversial. Meanwhile, earlier on Friday, Chinese ambassador to the Philippines Wang Xilian also visited Pastor Apollo at the Covenant Mountain and Paradise Garden of Eden Restored in Davao City. For God and my beloved Philippines, this is Precious Alvarez, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. The world will not change you. You will change the world.
And for our Christmas countdown, 72 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit smnichannel.com or follow us in our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and Country, I'm Frederico Velloso.
For God and Country, I'm Mayk Oliveira. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Quiboloy, for the great opportunity to be part of this program.
May you continue to listen on SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.